Is this, I don't even think I need this, no? Okay. All right, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Is that okay for the video? All right, good to see everyone. My name is John Hale. I'm a teacher at the College of Charleston. I also work with a group called the Quality Education Project, which I'm excited to work with. And I'm joined by many esteemed community leaders and activists. And maybe we could just go on down the line and say who everyone is and introduce ourselves.
Good morning. My name is Karen Williams, and I'm with Charleston County School District. I work in the Department of Federal Programs.
I'm Dr. Millicent Brown, and I am a former Burke student, and I am a retired college history professor.
Good morning. My name is Tony Lewis. I'm the District 20 Chairman of the school board, and I'm also an owner of a semi-pro football team, the various organizations I'm a part of.
Dan Ryan, I taught at the College of Charleston, at UCLA, Occidental College, and a few other places, and currently spend a lot of time at Burke volunteering in AP US History and AP World courses. I love the students.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Muhyiddin Baha. I'm an organizer with Black Lives Matter Charleston, community activist, rebel rouser, drummer, all the fun things that make noise that make us really express who we are. That's what I love to do, so it's good to be here.
Good morning, I'm Alexa Stevens. I work with the Tri-County Cradle to Career Collaborative.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Pastor Dixon, one of the founders of the Coalition Keep United, Take Back Our Community, community organizer, activist, and if there's anything going wrong with Muhyiddin, is that I'm probably around there somewhere causing trouble too.
All right,
for the good reason. Yes, it's fair.
Well, thank you for everyone, and Mr. Cannon, and everyone coming out from Burke and Simmons Pinckney to come here today. And we're here for a very special event, and part of it is to talk about, you know, what happened at AME, and I know we've been talking about this a lot, right? If you read the paper this weekend, there's a story about that we're talking about this a lot, but it's our responsibility to do so. We can't let something like this happen and not talk about it, right? And we also have a responsibility in Charleston to kind of recognize the local heroes and sometimes national heroes that are part of a movement to address what happened. And one of these heroes is Marian Wright Edelman. Has anyone heard of Marian Wright Edelman before? Maybe read it in class? Well, I hear some teachers are talking about her at across the street. But she's a civil rights activist, right? She was involved in the civil rights movement in the 1960s. She wrote a book called The Measure of Our Success, which a lot of people across Charleston County are reading, and the library is providing copies for people to read. And she's coming here on March 1st. So the library wanted to sort of host discussions around Marian Wright Edelman's visit, and they want to connect a national civil rights activist like Marian Wright Edelman to what's happening here in Charleston. So that's what we're going to do here today, is sort of talk about what's happening here locally and try to put this at a national agenda. So first I just want to start out and kind of define, you know, who is Marian Wright Edelman? What is she all about? Marian Wright Edelman, as I mentioned, is a civil rights activist. She goes back, she worked in Mississippi on the ground in 1963, and someone else in the room was also involved a couple years later, but Dr. Millicent Brown was in Mississippi in 65, correct? And I think you know. 68? Oh, I'm sorry, okay. But she was involved in registering voters, getting the right to vote. Back when people of color, it was very difficult for people to register to vote. So that was a major emphasis of the civil rights movement. And Marian Wright Edelman, one day, she was supporting her friend Julian Bond, who was arrested and was inside the courthouse. And Marian was his friend. She wanted to go in the courthouse, and the police officer said, African Americans are not allowed inside the courthouse unless they have a law degree. And she was denied. At that point, she decided she was going to pass the Mississippi bar exam. And the bar exam is what you have to pass in order to become a lawyer. And she passed it. She was the first African American woman to pass the Mississippi bar in 1964. First woman to do that. And since, she has been a strong advocate for students' rights, for children's rights, and for civil rights in general. She's published many books, and she started a program called the Freedom Schools, which we'll talk about. So she's a civil rights activist, much like many of the people who are in front of you here today. Mrs. Spellman also, I'm sorry. Mrs. Edelman also went to Spelman College in Atlanta, and we also have a Spelman graduate here too, and someone who spent time at Spelman, right? And she went on to earn her law degree, as I mentioned, from Yale University, and she used that for civil rights purposes. She was also an advisor to Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and she's since lobbied Congress on Capitol Hill. She's worked with a few presidents, so she has the ear of a lot of important people in Congress, and she's always advocating, right? So when last week I was in Montgomery, Alabama. Have you all heard of Montgomery? A few things happened there, and I was at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, which was Dr. King's, the first church that he pastored by himself in Montgomery. And this, of course, eventually led to the Montgomery bus boycott. And I went to visit there. I was taking a break from my work, and I was in Dr. King's office. They didn't let me sit in his chair, even though I wanted to. But I was thinking, I knew I had this talk coming up, and I talked to Mrs. Kim Odom later that day, and I was thinking, what can I talk to students about for an hour? I don't want to sit here and talk. I was going through, Dexter Avenue Baptist Church and thinking about Marian at Edelman, and it's all about the young people, right? It's all about youth. All the meetings that we sit in, how many meetings, where are the young people? Where are the young people's voice? We don't hear your voice enough. So what I want to actually do today is to pick your brains a little bit and allow you to guide this conversation, right? What do you think about civil rights? What do you want Mrs. Edelman to know when she comes here? This may be the first day or the first week where you've heard about her, but she wants to hear your voice. Too many times, these big-name speakers, they get paid lots of money. They fly to Charleston for an hour or two, give a talk, and leave. But we're not going to let that happen anymore. We want young people's voice to be heard, and to do that, right, we need to use this space to hear your voice, okay? So what I want to do is take advantage of the brain power that we have in this room, on both sides, in front, and of course in the bleachers here. And I want to break, we have 4 tables. Let's break into 4 groups. And I'm going to ask the adults here to sort of help facilitate each of the small group discussions. Now I know you're all with your friends and you like certain people and maybe don't like certain people for some reason, whatever. So what I want to do is we're going to count off by 4s. Okay? So let's go ahead and start here. All right, and adults, you're not off the hook either.
1,
2,
3, 4.
1, 2, 4, 1, 2.
1. All right, so let's go group 1 right here. Group 2 over here.
Sorry, 1 is over there?
Yeah, 1's up here. 2 right here. 3 over here. So I think we just go to question number 2. Okay. How would you want to advocate? All right, so first question. Every group is going to answer 3 questions today. The first question is how we want to address Mrs. Edelman. Right? So, as I mentioned, Mrs. Edelman is a lawyer. She's a civil rights activist. She works for children and students. So the first question I want each group to write and come up with 2 answers to this as a group. And for everyone who has a piece of paper, it's question number 2. How would you want Mrs. Marian Wright Edelman to advocate for you, your friends, and your family? How do you want her to advocate for you? So if she comes to Charleston on March 1st and she needs ideas about how to advocate, what would you tell her in other words? Does that make sense? Okay, so spend a few minutes to talk about that question.
Do you understand the question? Okay, let's just talk it out. He said, and it's written here, how would you want Mrs. Edelman to advocate for you? What does advocate mean?
To represent. To represent.
a part of it would be to say she's going to represent how you feel about something. Okay, is representing all that she's going to do? Does advocate mean just to represent you?
Sure.
You gonna speak out for us?
Huh? What else do you think? Maybe advocate. It's a good word. How does she represent you to be your voice, to give your opinions on things? Okay, it's getting there. A little bit stronger. What else? If I represent you and I'm going to talk for you,
Basically, I told him about food.
I'm going to try to say how you feel about things. Stand up for you. Stand up for you. Advocate is a little stronger, okay? But it's everything you said. But it's when I advocate something, it means I work for it. I push it. It's an idea, and I want to see something change. I want to advocate that people should be paid a minimum wage of $15 an hour. I don't want to just talk about it. I want to actually advocate. So what does that mean? If I'm going to advocate for change, what does that mean I have to do? How do you advocate for it? You gotta work for it. So the question goes back to y'all. If Mrs. Edelman, this world-renowned human rights activist who works for children and families, she's going to come and meet you. What are the things you would want her to advocate for you? Somebody's got to write some of this down.
All right.
No, that doesn't mean you don't talk that. What is it in your life, in other words? Do you have anything that you feel you would like somebody to come and help advocate, push for?
What bothers you? Nothing? Nothing at all?
Does anybody have anything in their life that they just think could get better, would like to improve?
Society. Society. I don't know how to say that word that much.
No, that's in society, but what in society would you like to improve?
Racism, money, wages.
Okay, let's get to writing. Come on. Okay, points to advocate. Yeah. Points to advocate. Okay. We're getting a few ideas, but everybody, all we're asking you to do, we're not asking you to make up stuff just to be making it up. We're just saying, think about your family right now. Are there any challenges going on in your house, in your neighborhood? Okay, let's do number one. Somebody. When you say jobs, what are you thinking? What's going on that made you say jobs?
Racial diversity.
Oh, not just having a job, but the small pay? Okay.
Raise pay, raise pay.
Working conditions.
Yeah, very good.
What made you think that? What came to mind? Make us see it. Make us see this problem.
Like
say
when you
working
working,
conditions.
like when you work at McDonald's and Burger King and fast food restaurants like that, you do more work than what you're being paid for.
Okay. So working conditions, he said.
How y'all feel? How y'all feel?
Is anybody else? Just think about your own house.
In schools,
Why is that something that you feel needs to be advocated for?
Because they're trying to close work down instead of closing work down, you're saying y'all turn to work.
You think that they're going to try to close it down? You look worried about that.
Racial diversity in schools.
See, what you're saying isn't quite what I'm saying here. You said racial diversity. What does that mean?
Like people, they're like,
We only have
white,
99% of our population in our schools is black.
yeah, we
Okay.
So they see that as a threat. They're gonna try to close the school, and then when they take the school over, it'll be Palmetto Academy and Peninsula or
So
something like that.
basically pushing us out.
Pushing us out of school. Cause I'm not moving. I'm not moving from Charleston. I'm gonna be here. I want my child to go to Berkeley. I want my child to
Okay.
go to Berkeley.
Okay, but see, that's not what I hear with racial diversity. It seems as if you're saying, I'm afraid for my school.
Yeah, but
I think they're gonna close
I think they would not close the school if they sent more of their children there. If you look around, I live on Wilson Street Project. I walk down the street, I'm walking past big houses and stuff, but their children go to James Island. Their children go to schools and that's not on the
Then
peninsula.
can you make that a problem that you would like to say to her? No, because you put racial diversity. What that says to you, to me, is you're saying, I want more white students here at this school. That's what you're saying the problem is. I want more white students to come to Burke. Is that what you meant?
So can we put
You want me to
stereotypes
elaborate on it?
I want to hear what you think the problem is. Don't worry about what other people are planning on doing. What is it you're afraid of?
I'm closing Burke.
Okay, then that's the problem, okay? Yeah. You're afraid for your school?
Closing Burke and not having a school representative on the peninsula that's open to all, what you're saying.
Closing Burke, the only school on the peninsula.
But it's down and it's beautiful.
Safe travel.
Because
That's important.
I didn't hear you.
It said safe travel.
Okay,
Like,
it's
you
something.
feel not safe when you're out.
You know, basically, sometimes people will be afraid to go places because things we have to do,
That don't look right.
like different types of crimes. And
Okay, so
Okay,
safety
well
and
then-
out. Give her a time.
Yeah, give a chance.
Going back.
He's saying
And we are?
in the streets or safety and,
Miss Callis' class.
Okay, everybody, I don't mean to interrupt, but we're
you
going to
haven't said
change.
anything. Is there
change your way of
anything
thinking
in
a little
your
bit.
community that you're aware
Everyone's attention, hands
of?
up.
Or are you
Can you
like
hear
her?
me?
She says she doesn't have any problem.
Hands up.
So
All
everything
right.
is just fine at home? There are
Group
no
two, group
problems
two.
or things that you would like to see?
We have a facilitator, group 2. There we go. We're going to switch gears a little bit. I'm sorry, Dr. Brown. We'll switch gears a little bit. Just maximize the discussion we can have. So Marian Wright Edelman is also known for started something called Freedom Schools. Raise your hand if you heard of Freedom Schools. Freedom Schools started in 1964, and they trained people your age in middle school and high school to join the front lines of the civil rights movement. A lot of young people, they went to Freedom School, they learned how to protest, they learned how to boycott, they learned where the protests were. And Mr. Cannon, I'm not suggesting your students go get arrested, I'm not saying that. But the idea has inspired Mrs. Edelman to start a series of Freedom Schools. Since 1992, 80,000 students across the country have gone to a Freedom School. Over 150 cities have a Freedom School. Does Charleston have a Freedom School? Yep, okay, 2. And where? In Charleston, or is it in North Charleston? Okay. So what I want to ask each group to talk about now, and you can relate it to the first question you're talking about, is when you hear Freedom School and just this brief history that I gave you and that you know about, what does Freedom School mean to you? And how could you possibly use the idea of a Freedom School to address some of the issues that each of your groups identified here? Does that make sense?
Which school is the Freedom School in North Charleston?
Which school? So Freedom Schools, that's a really good question. Freedom Schools are summer programs, and they're typically run out of a community center. So in North Charleston, it's run out of have you heard of the Metanoia Community Center? Metanoia and Muhyiddin, the other one is...
So it's CYPC.
Yes,
The other one,
yeah.
Metanoia has their Freedom School at Mary Ford Elementary School in the summer. It's mostly elementary school students. The high schoolers actually come in and actually help facilitate some of the classes for the middle schoolers and also for the elementary school kids.
So they're at those schools, and oftentimes during the summer program for 6 weeks, right? And so sometimes they look for students to attend, but when you get old enough, They look for people from the local community to become Freedom School teachers. They pay for you to go up to Tennessee. It's called the Ella Baker Training Camp. It's an outstanding experience. You become a paid Freedom School teacher, so there's a lot of opportunity. So I want to talk, each group, if you could please talk about what Freedom School means to you and what a Freedom School can do in terms of some of the concerns that you brought up for question number 1. Make sense? Let's talk for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then we'll bring it back together.
Does anybody need to ask something about what he just said about the Freedom Schools? Well, we might stick them up.
Well, we might stick them up, and we might need another paper. So put this one under it.
I'm going to hang one up for you.
Oh.
You want to try facilitating this question? So it's question number 2.
Kids like us go to learn about how to be activists in our communities.
It could be a chance to get our voice heard and our opinions. Help us speak out.
Awesome. So Freedom School means to you is a chance to get our voice heard, and our concerns heard, your concerns heard. Right on.
You said that you work with the Freedom School.
Yeah, I was the coordinator for it.
Mm-hmm.
Were you a scholar?
I was.
Ah, see? What was your experience like as a scholar?
Well, I wasn't a scholar. I was an Ella Baker trainer. So
Oh, wow, you're
down.
EBT. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Man, so all I can say is it's incredible. It's incredible. That's all I can say. Every morning you start off with like songs, chants, drums for like half an hour, eat breakfast, go into class, and all the classes are structured in such a way that we're reading stories and while learning how to read, but the stories are about civil rights activists. So the stories are about how people turned up in their own community, for a couple generations back. So, I mean, it's all beautiful, art-filled every day.
Think of the most engaging class you've ever had.
Yeah.
Like a class that just always had something going on, that you were always doing something that you could be a part of.
Yep.
That's Freedom Schools for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But you're learning at the same time.
Yeah. You're
Not
learning.
just busyness, but it's
You're doing something that's. You're reading a book that you've never heard of before that is about people that you can relate to. It's not just out of the library. It's like a new book.
So how does that sound to all of you?
Sounds good.
Interesting. Okay. And would you be interested in attending? All right. I want to get what you said. I don't think I wrote down what you said.
They give us a chance to get our voice heard.
Okay.
And, like learn how to speak out.
Learn how to speak out. Good. And then, did you say something that I missed?
What did you say? You said in the beginning.
It's a good way for us to get
Active in your community.
Okay, so that was.
And I think it showed us like how to like how to protest instead of trying to do it violently, more of a peaceful way.
But someone, see, they didn't have that court, but they did have someone to come in to train you how to study.
learn to
How to protest in a peaceful way.
Learn how to be the representatives.
Be the representatives. Beautiful. There's a big difference between a spokesperson and a leader. So a spokesperson speaks for a group of people, right? And a leader sometimes stands up, and they might just have their own ideas about what should happen, right? But like being a representative, you're representing somebody else, and that's a bigger responsibility than being a leader, almost. It's a difference.
Basically, like community empowerment, like
Okay.
Talk about freedom.
What else? Y'all are generating some wonderful ideas here. Yes. Great. That's a lot to learn in a school setting, isn't it? As you're learning and enjoying all the other activities that you talked about, and then talking about the books and other things that you're learning as well. Anybody want to add anything else to it?
Well, you probably get to meet somebody new who probably going through the same thing you're going through.
Okay.
A lot of the scholars, so the people that go through the program, they end up going to the training to actually teach the youth later. So it's like a circle, and then maybe you become a trainer and train all the people that are teaching over the summer.
Okay, everyone, I hate to interrupt, but last time, and I hate to interrupt the conversation, I know, but we have a time schedule to keep, right? Especially because there's pizza waiting. For our last task, I want each group to appoint two spokespeople, and they're going to summarize what they said for number 1 and number 2, and they're going to report out to everybody. And don't forget you're on camera too, so you have to speak loud and speak clearly so everyone can hear you. So take 2 minutes, pick 2 spokespeople, and come up with a
You can't just choose yourselves. You can nominate yourselves, but we're going to do a vote. I have a feeling.
Remember when you speak, you got to speak loud, you got to be clear, you got to speak to the camera. Who wants to get
Who would like to nominate themselves or nominate somebody else in the circle to speak? You're nominating yourself? Excellent. So we have 3 people nominated.
Learning. Sometimes you don't always talk
So
back
are
with
we
long.
going to say that to learn skills or learn the techniques to help you be able to?
What are some things that, if I want to learn how to go back to my community, he gave an example of what we did back in the 60s. And I was one of those kids, you know. We had to learn how to register people to vote. We had to learn what's the proper way to go to someone's house. You know, you don't just walk in, you know, you have to be polite, you have to make sure that you introduce yourself, that you tell them why they're there. I had to learn how to fill out a registration form. And how do you talk to somebody to say, are you registered to vote without offending them? Okay, those were skills that we learned in Freedom School. How do I get to know my community? How do I get to ask questions? Well, let's see if we can just jot y'all's memory, because I want all of the, even the ones that aren't talking. This concept of Freedom Schools, which Mrs. Edelman was very committed to, was
Right. That's something. And that is freedom. Where's our recorder? No, your hand right here. Oh.
What was the question?
This was about freedom.
I know, but he's talking about
and we're saying, can we figure out what would we want to do if we went on a voluntary basis and showed up with a
But he's giving one more current than.
Okay, no, I'm not. Yeah.
And a skill that he would learn that would be relevant to him today.
Right.
Would be learning how to go on a job.
Okay.
Interview.
Learning how to carry yourself in the street was what he said first.
Yeah, but they would.
Then learning how to do what on the job?
Speak
to the person.
Okay, 1 minute.
How to speak to the person, people at the job.
How to present yourself.
Right.
These two what I heard them saying is advocating for changes in their schools that apply more to what they want, right?
Right.
So I think that's another one.
Then what could you put about your school? the problem that you put out there. What could you think getting together and talking with older adults as well as other young people, what is something that they could possibly help you understand? You just gonna be mad because they want to close the school?
No, we can be mad.
Why
Okay, is every group ready? Raise your hand if your group is ready.
Okay. Why do we not have all the courses?
Group 1 is ready.
Why do we provide it?
All right, group 3. How's group 2 doing?
We're coming. We're wrapping it up.
We're just trying to point it out.
Group 4.
Why are we not providing?
More professional and qualified.
Still working?
And the courses, right? Also, you got courses that actually can help us get jobs later.
Just for the
All right, well, let's start to wrap up.
Is it the teachers or is it the course?
All right, everyone. All attention up here. Since we have group 1 ready to go, we'll start with group 1. And to announce each group, we will have a special drum roll by none other than Muhyiddin. Group 1. Oh.
Okay, good.
No pressure. Remember, loud and clear so we can all hear, and the camera's over here too.
Is that a question? Is that a question?
By stopping gun violence, bullying, smaller classes, promote advanced classes, helping homeless people, and getting better teachers and better school lunch.
For a question from Freedom Schools, we said speaking your own mind, learning more about what is going in the world, and more workspace.
All right.
Group two.
All right.
Stand up so you can hear. You got to talk loud. Yeah. But they have to hear you.
Let's talk up now.
We said the points to advocate is the, like jobs, small pay and working conditions, and racial diversity in schools, closing Burke, and safety in the streets.
Good.
Go ahead.
Oh, the second
What,
one.
yeah, what?
The second part.
Oh, we
So with the Freedom Schools, you would learn how to present yourself on the job. With the Burke situation, we want to know why with the situation with the teachers and why we're missing courses that other schools have. And safety in the streets, you will go to the school to learn how to present yourself in the streets or learn how to speak to a police officer if they pull you over for no reason.
Excellent. Great.
Group 3.
Well, in our group, we talked about safety in the streets, like how some people, I know I have this fear, but a lot of people have a fear of like walking out and being shot at. We want to ask her to see if she can do something about that to help prevent that happening. And then we also talked about stricter gun laws and how to stop policemen from just being able to shoot you whenever they want to. And then we talked about helping schools provide better education. That's like getting better books, more technology, make sure you learn. And then we talked about equal justice, because like I could do something and I would get a long time in jail, but if somebody for say like his skin color and they do the same thing, they want to get that long. So we want to change that. And then employment and job opportunities, we need to ask her for more African Americans to get better job opportunities, not just us, other people too. So we thought of that. Then number 6, money for housing, to help people get off the streets. Like they could get money to pay for probably like 2 months in the apartment so they can get back on their feet, get a job, get going. And then number 7, community empowerment and seeking solutions and taking responsibility. Like
as a community.
Like, take responsibility for your own community before you go running somebody else. Just try to do it by yourself. That's what we talk about.
With Freedom School, that gives us the chance to have our voice heard, teach us how to speak out and represent our community. And then it teaches us how to protest in a peaceful way instead of using violence. And teach us how to work together as a community. And then we can meet new people.
That's it.
Me and my teammates has decided that Mrs. Wright can help to advocate us for building more playgrounds and community centers so they won't be in the streets, something positive. And we say that because nowadays violence is a key for teenagers and they think that it's a solution for problems. And we said something that's missing in our community is positive motivational speakers. We need more of those to help teens to basically tell them that being out in the streets is not the right thing to do. And we said bring back social centers, entertainment, outlet for teens, things to keep people out of trouble. That's what's needed. And some concerns that we have noticed is that it's deeper than some people just don't want to go to lack of diversity in school. And something we noticed about Burke is that we need to be more open to the community. And we said that for Freedom School, it can prepare us for life because some of us have been interfering with Freedom School. And we said construction positive for youth and exposed to diversity. And for one concerns about Burke being exposed to the community, we can say they could do research because if we do research, then more people probably come see how the real Burke is. And we can say that it educates the community about Burke.
All right, everyone, thank you so much. I don't know about the other panels, but I'm very, very impressed. Very impressed. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, but I want to leave everyone with the challenge, is when we bring big speakers and spend a lot of money to bring speakers in, just because people are busy and sometimes it costs that, I challenge every one of you in this room today to go see Mrs. Edelman, March 1st, at 6:30 at the College of Charleston campus. It's also on the flyer here, and this information's on the table here. It's at the Satilli Theater, March 1st, 6:30. And the challenge is not only to attend the session, but to ask her a question. You know, sometimes people aren't used to hearing the voice of young people, and there are so many good ideas in this room right now. And just talking isn't going to do anything. But challenging those who are activists, right, and lawyers to advocate for you is so important. Your voice is important. I go to dozens of meetings and we wonder where the youth voice is. So I challenge you to go to this talk and ask these questions, right? Ask questions what you talked about today. This will lead, just think if you put a bug in her ear or gave her a new thought, this could change the direction of a lot of activity in this country today. So I challenge you all to attend and to raise your voice and ask that important question.